can you tell us where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in a township, a very popular township in the south of Johannesburg called Soweto, so the southwestern township. I spent all of my formative years there, in fact, all the way up to high school, and then went on to study in Grahamstown outside Johannesburg or Gauteng. Yeah, so pretty much my story in terms of where I grew up.
And can you tell us what was your dream career when you grew up?
It's an interesting question because I think growing up, you never really know a lot about a particular profession. You are inspired by the people that are in those professions, and you're inspired around how they show up. For example, you might enjoy what doctors do, but not necessarily appreciate the day-to-day of a medical profession. So I found myself being drawn to people who show up in front of audiences to inspire audiences. So I found myself drawn to spiritual leaders and teachers and facilitators, trainers, and not really knowing whether it was about the profession itself, but certainly that experience of inspiring people, or large audience of people. And later on found myself in a profession that does quite a lot of that and was thriving, or found myself quite inspired myself doing those kinds of activities. So I didn't actually have a specific profession, but I found myself drawn to people that were performing those kinds of activities.
And looking back, Zani, does anybody stand out from your inspirational leaders?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's small examples. I was really inspired by, the fitness world. Sitting outside, I remember as a university student wanting to be a fitness instructor, and it was not really about people, exercising and wanting to perfect how they look. It was really the teaching in that classroom, because when I then became a fitness instructor, I found myself using it to motivate and inspire, as opposed to just stick to a script around fitness. It was really getting people to be the best that they can be in terms of overall health. And I remember even a group of adult, or ladies rather, much older than me, taking comfort from the advice I was giving as a fitness instructor. So for me, that was an example. It's a small one, but it's one that comes to mind when I talk about what would that profession look like. I mean, later on, it was then the coaching profession. So that has become something that has inspired me a lot more, growing up, seeing that you can have a group of individuals that you can facilitate conversation with, and do that on a one-on-one basis. So that's really a career that I admire and am attracted to at the moment.
Right. Now, Zani, you've been working for some of the big brands in South Africa. Today, you're leading the Centers of Excellence at the Reserve Bank. Looking back over your career, was there a specific turning point or maybe a number of turning points?
Sure. The turning point that comes to mind is when I decided to pack my bags and go abroad and then live in a completely different country. And that was the United Kingdom at the time. So I moved to London without a job, without anything planned. All I had done was made a couple of phone calls, responded to some emails with recruitment agencies, but really found myself in a place I've never really lived before. Decided sort of, early to mid career to take a break, but had the opportunity to work and travel at the same time. And that for me became my university, or my MBA rather, at that particular point in time, an experience that I wouldn't change, or change as part of my past. But I definitely found lots of lessons for working in a very different environment to where I grew up, in unfamiliar places, and also understanding diversity, of minds, of people from different countries, working on same projects, working with people that live in different countries at the same time. So I think for me, those were kind of the things that helped me think differently about myself and my career as a whole.
And Zani, what would you say is driving you today?
Today, it's pretty much around the growth of others. I think for me, I'm pretty much drawn now and driven by participating in creating opportunities for others. My motivation stems from witnessing the growth of others, which mirrors the impact that others once had on my own development. I find great fulfillment in nurturing and supporting the growth of individuals, just as I once benefited from the guidance and encouragement of others in my own journey.
Now, Zani, looking into the future, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
Yeah, to me, I think the future of leadership lies in the ability to instill confidence in others, particularly during times of volatility and uncertainty. Throughout history, humanity has faced immense challenges, such as world wars, genocides, pandemics. And I think it's through effective leadership that people can find strength and resilience to survive and thrive amongst these adversities. So leaders in the future the future of leadership plays a crucial role in providing guidance, empathy, a sense of direction, fostering collective spirit that enables communities. So I think it's going to be quite exciting to shape that agenda for the future.
Thank you. And Zani, what have you learned from your own leadership journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
Sure. I think it's in the role of mentorship, which I think we mentioned quite a lot. For me, a mentor not only offers advice and direction, but also opens the floodgates of leadership by instilling confidence and fostering self belief and nurturing the mentee's potential. So, the mentor's influence can extend beyond the immediate mentee as they pass on the wisdom and leadership qualities to others. They're creating a ripple effect of positive change within the broader community, or perhaps it could be broader in the organization. So the impact of a mentor goes beyond just opening doors. It empowers individuals to unlock their true leadership potential and become catalysts for growth and development in their own right, to face and overcome obstacles. So I think for me, that's been the biggest lesson. So as we move forward, the significance of compassionate and visionary leadership will remain indispensable in helping people navigate through complexities of an ever-changing world.
Thank you. Now, Zani, you mentioned obstacles, career obstacles. What is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? What are some of the biggest
Yeah.
challenges they should expect to encounter in their career?
Yes, I think the challenges are definitely being able to overcome failures. You have to subscribe to the university of failure, which means embracing the idea that failures and setbacks are valuable learning experiences that can contribute to personal growth and success. And I think that's a big challenge for many leaders, is how do you actually overcome it? How do you rise up? How do you keep going? My son is a young football player, and I've had to learn, as I mirror him becoming a more experienced football player, is he's having to learn what to do and work with failure. So instead of viewing failure as a negative outcome, we need to subscribe to the concept of seeing it as an opportunity to gain insights, to learn valuable lessons, and to actually develop that resilience. In the University of Failure, every setback becomes a stepping stone for improvement. So, by analyzing the failures and understanding the factors that led to them, you can make more informed decisions and avoid repeating the same mistakes in the future. It encourages a growth mindset where challenges are now opportunities to expand your skill sets and capabilities. So I think um, in this approach, individuals become more open to taking calculated risks, because you recognize that failure is a natural part of the learning process, and you're more willing to step out of your comfort zone and explore new avenues, knowing that even if they don't work out, or you don't achieve what you set out to achieve, you see it as a failure, you'll emerge stronger and you'll be more prepared to those future endeavors. So for me, I think those are the biggest challenges, and I find that's often they actually are your gems. They actually are things that you should embrace as your essential teacher, so that you continue to grow and ultimately lead to greater success.
So what you say, we should be heading forwards, not backwards.
Sail forward, fast and
Okay,
forward.
thank you. Now, Zani, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are some of the new skills you would want to factor in?
Part of the work I do, I've had to do a lot of research into this concept of future skills. And I think it's really a phrase just to equip leaders or professionals or organizations just to prepare for the future, and found myself benchmarking what other countries are doing. And I'm drawn to what I've seen in countries that are actually talking about mastering critical thinking and leadership skills that can help you navigate challenges and uncertainty, of the future effectively. So for me, critical thinking, which is your ability to analyze, evaluate, interpret information objectively, helps one make more informed decisions, solve complex problems, identify opportunities. So for me, that's a skill that I think leaders need to invest in. So in a curriculum, you want to be seeing a lot more of that, particularly because it's a growing world and at a very fast pace. So we must always be assessing a situation, weighing potential outcomes because the answers aren't there, and adapting strategies fast enough or accordingly. Of course, emotional intelligence continues to be important because we've seen how empathy, self awareness, the ability to understand and manage emotions and those of others has become even more of a need. And it's building strong leadership because that's how trust in teams, with people, stakeholders is instilled. And that's how you communicate better with your teams as a leader. So I think these skills foster positive work environments, cultures, experiences, and they promote a lot more productivity and collaboration. Adaptability, I think, is one that has to make that list in that curriculum because the future is now inherently unpredictable more and more. And you have to adapt and thrive in dynamic environments. They cannot be, change can't be a threat anymore. It has to, adaptability will allow you to respond to changing circumstances, embrace innovation, adjust your approach to meet new challenges. I think being a visionary and strategic thinker is important because being a leader, you're being put in a space where you've got to give us a future to think about, especially when things are disrupting. So what is the future? A lot of people will see doom and gloom, but the leader is the one who can think beyond the doom and gloom. They can set those objectives, show and devise clear plans, and they'll be able to then align people and resources or mobilize them accordingly. And being able to deliver messages of the vision through effective communication is important. So you've got to be able to convey your vision and expectations quite clearly and be able to, as a leader, give feedback. So strong communication skills continue to be one of those. They make it to the future skills list because that's how you make people have shared understanding and inspire others towards common goals.
Thank you. Now, Zani, you mentioned the importance of mentorship. Can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
The work of a mentor is one that you're never quite sure whether there's going to be that prize at the end. And of course, for me, the prize is seeing somebody have their lights switched on. Because often when people approach you for mentorship, they're often in the dark and they're in a place where they often can't see a window or a door. The mentor just helps you seize the windows and the doors. Where they lead to is part of the process. I think for me, the mentorship experience I can reflect on is when my mentee decided to take and embrace the mentorship and be able to create the future that she felt she didn't have. This was somebody who thought their career was at a standstill. This individual felt that there were no opportunities for them. the mentorship allowed this individual to explore and have the confidence to explore, rather, new opportunities, have the confidence to speak to people, have the confidence to approach people you've never spoken to before, have the confidence to say, hey, I can do that job. They talk about things that I feel I don't have or skills I don't have, but what's the harm in going to put my hand up? I think the second example was quite recent. I had a lunch with an individual I've never met before. They were introduced to me and they reached out to me through somebody they knew to say, please help me, Zani. I've just resigned. I don't have a role. I can't make a mistake. I'm going to take 2 months to not make a decision, but to explore and reflect on quite a lot of ideas. And during that lunch meeting, as firstly, I was quite impressed. She came very well dressed, invested in this experience. This was somebody who you could already see was really prepared to do well in her next whatever decision she makes. And I, in that experience, said to her, you've got to learn to network. She had not had a mentor. She doesn't have networks to leverage on. The only people she knew were people she works with. And I said to her, the best thing you can do now is start to cast your net wide when it comes to different stakeholders in your profession. So I introduced her to 5 amazing top leaders in her field who've embraced the idea to engage her, but she took the initiative to reach out to them after I shared the list and the context. And now she's excited about the journey she's about to take. She's not sitting in a space where the light isn't there, but there's now brightness everywhere just from that engagement with her and just giving her a few tips.
Wonderful. And I hope you'll see her one day. Um, Now, Zani, looking back over your leadership journey, are there any role models of leadership that you have encountered and maybe worked with that you would recommend future leaders should study?
Um, this is going to be very different to the formal question or the formal sort of setup. For me, parenting is something that I think leaders should look at these days. And I guess it's because I'm going through lessons of parenting. But what I draw from parenting is being able to see individuals grow positively under your watch. Because essentially, parenting for me is that, do people thrive and grow under your watch? And what I learned from my parents was exactly that, you know, I had a father and I had parents, rather, a father and a mother who invested in a decision that they've made, ensured that they created the best opportunities for a child that they brought into this world, not having had those opportunities themselves, not being people who've been in the world that they've put their daughter in, and trusting that their daughter will embrace that. I was not forced to study on a Friday night and not go to the nightclubs as a teenager on a Saturday afternoon. I think for me, it was around parenting that said, these are all the opportunities we're putting in front of you. Be brave and embrace each one. And it doesn't matter which one you catch ultimately. But my role as a parent is make sure that you can be, somebody who can be often an opportunity to grow under their watch. And I think for me, that's what we need to be studying is people who are able to create those opportunities for people. You've got to open doors. You've got to give people the benefit of the doubt. You've got to sometimes sacrifice as well, as somebody who wants to be in a position of influence and positive power. So I think for me, it's not a traditional response, but I think if we observe parenting, we can then start to solve problems around growing future leaders.
Thank you. Now, Zani, how can our listeners connect with you and where should they follow you?
I am active on LinkedIn, so very happy for people to connect with me, whether they send me a message or whether they connect with me. So that typically is the way a lot of mentees get a hold of me.
Right. Now, last but not least, Zani, What is your message to the millions of learners out there who are looking to leave school, to start a career? What are maybe one or two success principles that they should keep in
Yeah,
mind?
sure. I think being your own best mentor is a powerful mindset to cultivate, because it involves setting high standards for personal growth and development, guided by your own aspirations and values rather than external expectations. So look to yourself quite often and set the bar high for yourself. You become self-driven and motivated to reach your potential when the bar is set by yourself. And you can recognize your strengths and weaknesses better, and you'll actively work on improving yourself. The internal focus allows you to pursue your passions and interests authentically and leading to a more fulfilling and purposeful life. I think relying on your own standards rather than expectations imposed by others liberates you from limitations of comparison and societal pressures. It enables you to define success on your terms and to pursue a path that aligns with your unique vision and goals. So you've got to embrace a mindset such as this, because it's also being compassionate with yourself when facing setbacks and challenges. You'll learn from failures, you'll use them as stepping stones for growth and improvement rather than allowing them to discourage or define you. So ultimately, being your own best mentor empowers you to take ownership of your life, make intentional choices, and embrace your individuality. And it's a journey of continuous self discovery and self improvement, leading to a more authentic and confident version of yourself.
Thank you. Zani, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of
Thank,
leadership.
thank you. Thank you very much, Nick. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.